This is Steve Hayes at the EPRA Annual Conference. I have with me here Eamon Darcy, who is from the University of Reading Henley Business School. Eamon, welcome.
Thank you.
Eamon, you're very well known for the research you've done on the internationalization of real estate. How do REITs fit into that story?
Okay, well, real estate markets globally have experienced rapid internationalization on a range of levels over the last 20 years. In terms of REITs' particular contribution, I think the key impact in countries where REIT regimes have been introduced has been the internationalization of the capital raising base in those countries, which has introduced new sources of liquidity to those particular markets. At a wider level, I think it's contributed to improvements in transparency in those markets, not just related to listed real estate, but also to the wider investment market. Also, I think it's allowed sector specialists to emerge in those markets because of the access to capital. And historically, if you look at REIT regimes, Australia is a very good example. You see sector specialists like Westfield having emerged on the back of access to capital.
You mentioned Australia, but are there markets in Europe where REITs have made a particular impact?
I think France is the classic case. Maybe it's a case of advantageous timing when REITs were introduced in 2003 in France, but I think they've dramatically improved the transparency of the French investment market and contributed to much greater liquidity and indeed transparency in the French commercial real estate market.
In times like this, where there's a lot of volatility in the markets and turmoil generally in the economies, particularly in Europe and the States, do people turn to real estate? Do investors turn to real estate and its listed and non-listed forms?
I think to some extent the outputs of this crisis, real estate has got some bad press. There's no point in saying it hasn't, particularly in terms of the exposure of the banking sector. I think it's probably positive for listed real estate because it sort of almost makes a case for listed real estate in terms of widening the capital raising base of the sector and taking away its dependence on bank finance. I mean, particularly I can say this with some confidence being Irish, the Irish case is a classic illustration of overdependence on bank finance for a real estate sector. And I think at a wider level, one would hope that investors are looking at what we would call the opportunity costs of committing financial capital to different types of investment. And I think investors will commit to real estate if the opportunity costs of essentially real estate, the returns available in real estate compared to the best alternative use for their financial capital are attractive.
Eamon, thank you.
Thank you.
Time. For this and other industry interviews, please go to REIT.com and EPRA.com.